Hello and welcome to this video, and you may be wondering why we are in our street in Massapequa Park. We're going to be talking about vehicles and about the environment today, and the problem that people have, particularly in the United States, when it comes to consumption. And we're not we're going to find it. We're going to actually talk about why electric cars are not necessarily the solution, and may actually be worse when it comes to reliability and the environment. Uh, because of all the stuff that's in an electric car. So, as you know, we can look at these. I just Googled Tesla batteries. So, look at all these big batteries that make up a big chunk of your electric car here. Huge, huge batteries that go in here. We all know how flammable and how dangerous these batteries are, but there's also a lot of mining that goes on that winds up tearing up the planet to produce these big batteries. So, they're not necessarily any better, and they may actually wind up being worse than an internal combustion engine. Now, I'm not going to defend the burning of fossil fuels, and yes, we definitely need to stop it, but before we stop it, we need to find a way to reduce the burning of fossil fuels. All right, so I have an article here that says electric vehicles are less reliable than conventional cars. Hybrids are the most reliable cars. So this is an article. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but electric vehicle industry report far more problems with their cars. All right, far more problems because of the fact that you've got to have such huge batteries in them. And Tesla, which has been building EVs for more than a decade, falls near the middle of the pack in brand reliability. But these articles kind of show you plug-in hybrids have a lot more problems. Electric vehicles have more problems than gas vehicles, and hybrids. 26 of the hybrids are more reliable, and I think that's the direction that we need to be moving in. Because when you're burning fossil fuel, a lot of it you're burning in slow speed. When you're driving slow. When you're driving slow. That's when the battery is most efficient. But when you're driving on a highway, the batteries aren't so efficient and they have problems. So the hybrid really combines the best of both worlds. All right, but let's talk about this trend when it comes to buses as well, because electric buses are not reliable. Nice Bus has one bus that we're talking about Foothill Transit here, right? So during its transition to an all-electric fleet, Foothill suffered 34% fleet failure, electric fleet. The transit system blamed its fleet vendor for the lack of spare parts. Others units stall while in revenue service. In the fiscal year 2020, 67% of its electric fleet failed to properly operate. Most of the buses had to wait 300 days for replacement parts. And in 2021, Foothill made the right decision and returned its fleet of electric buses to the FTA. And Foothill had to take a $5 million hit for that. But they're trying fuel cell buses, and this is another technology that might work better, like hydrogen fuel cells. All right? But we're talking about all this, yet we can't even fix the kind of vehicles we're driving. And this is what I'm going to talk about here. This is why we're looking at a street in Massapequa. And Massapequa Park, to be exact. And you'll note all the big SUVs here. Not all of them are big, but here's an SUV here. Here's an SUV here. SUV here. You'll notice most people driving big SUVs. Now, they have bigger wheels. They consume more fuel. And this is a big problem. You see all the SUVs in this parking lot, too, as well. There's a big pickup truck, too. And the pickups are a big problem, too. So before we even talk about, some states are even trying to mandate electric. That's not going to solve anything. What we have to do is start phasing out. We have to downsize our vehicles, because in this country, our vehicles are way too big. We have too many pickups. And this street doesn't even show how bad it can be. I pick Massapequa because it's an area where usually I'll see a lot of big pickups on the road here. All right. But you see a lot of these huge pickup trucks, these Rams. And one way that at the state level we can do it is classify some of these pickups as commercial vehicles. So if you want to drive one of these SUVs here, especially if it's a larger one, all right, like if it's over a certain size, I think it needs to be classified as a commercial vehicle, and that would take all the incentive away from driving these things, because these things, these big SUVs and pickup trucks guzzle a lot. They emit a lot more greenhouse gas than a regular car would, like this right here. All right. All right, so that's the thing. Even if it's an internal combustion engine in a car, it's still better off than driving a big pickup truck, especially if you don't need it. Let's go to the part, and you see all the SUVs that are just sitting here in this parking lot here. The people just driving to the train station. I mean, look at every vehicle. 80% of the vehicles you see here are SUVs, and they consume. We've spoken about SUVs and how they're dangerous to other vehicles on the road. As well as the pickup trucks. This category as light trucks. All right, we've spoken about that. All right, and you can see, yeah, here we go again. Look at all these pickups here. Look at how big they are. Just to sit, it's a Ram. I mean, these things, and these are some of they drive very dangerously too, a lot of them. I mean, what do you need a big pickup truck for if you're just using it to go to the train station? Look, count all the pickups here. One pickup here, another pickup here, another one here, another one here. It's gotten way out of control lately. Right? And this is why we need to do something about, yes, making the unpopular decision of, and it's unpopular because nobody wants to admit what's going on, but that these pickup trucks need to be off the road unless you really need them. If you really need a pickup truck and, it's part of your trades, it's part of your work, then it'll be classified as a commercial vehicle. All right, and you'll still be able to drive it. But for everybody else who's just driving it around because they think it looks cool or they want to use it to intimidate people, Rams are the worst ones, by the way. No, I don't think you should be allowed to do that. And they're extremely popular in this country, all right? And this is a big problem, all right? You look at other countries, they drive much smaller vehicles, all right? So, and there's no need to drive in these big things unless you actually need it for trades. But these people, look, they're just driving it to the train station. They're just driving it to the train station. I mean, and parking it there and catching the train. How wasteful is it? This is the kind of waste we need to crack down on if we ever, forget about mandating electric vehicles, because I'm against that, all right? We've got to get these big pickups and these SUVs off the road. We've got to find a way to do it, all right? Because I'm not saying if you really need one, you can still drive one. But for those who are just driving around because they think they look cool, I'm sorry, I don't think you have the right to put out 5 times as much greenhouse gas as somebody driving a Toyota Camry. All right, I don't think that's right. I don't think you should be allowed to do that. All right, and that's the one issue number one with this country. Issue number 2 with this country is how we design things, how everything is just built around private vehicles, and electric vehicles aren't going to solve that. We need to improve public transportation. All right, we keep cutting bus service when we should be improving it. Let's go to Europe here. All right, because yes, we need to be a lot more like Europe. All right, let's go to Belgium here. All right, let's look at some of these European cities here. Let's look at Brussels, for instance. All right. Let's look at Brussels, and we'll go on a highway. You'll see they don't really have highways. They have streets. And look at the kind of vehicles people are driving here. You'll notice they're all cars, and they're small cars. Well, there are not a lot of vehicles that aren't electric. Oh, there's a tunnel underneath, I see. But you'll notice that they're mostly cars here. All right, let's go to another street here. So you'll notice most of these vehicles are small cars. Now, I don't see a whole lot of electric vehicles, but they're small, fuel-efficient cars. And they have very good public transportation. And they support public. So at least you don't see many SUVs at all around here. All right? And that's the way it is in a lot of Europe and a lot of other countries. The SUVs and the pickups are mainly popular in America and sadly becoming a Canadian problem too, because the same greed disease that's in this country is spread to Canada now. But this is a big problem. So you hear a lot of people in the environment saying we've got to phase out fossil fuels. And yeah, that may be true, but before we even get there, we've got to at least, you got to take baby steps with people, all right? You can't just say we're going to take away your your internal combustion engine. All right, because it's not going to work. All right, let's downsize the amount of the kind of vehicles we're driving. All right, let's get more people on public transportation, and have public transportation play a much bigger role in our society than it does here in this country. I'm not saying we take away cars. All right, but what I am saying is that we need to downsize our economic footprint. Let's go and take a look at footprint by country, and I think we can do that. I said economic. Ecological footprint by country. By country. Let's see if we can find a chart that talks about this here. All right. So you'll see. Shut up with the freaking air blocker already. Take a look at where the biggest ecological footprint is. It's in North America, the United States. Ecological footprint is 8.04. Canada is 8.08. Canada's even worse than we are. Yet compare it to the UK, where it's half the amount that we have. All right, or Spain, or any of these other countries here. The only one that's worse is Australia's pretty bad. All right, but take a look at the worst, the area where people consume the most, and it's North America. It's the United States, and it's Canada. And this is really bad. Canada, I didn't think Canada was that bad. Wow, that's very discouraging. But you'll see here, when you look at the ecological footprint by country, that the United States and Canada are some of the worst. All right, we do have a pretty bad one in Mongolia as well, for some reason. But most of these countries have a much smaller ecological footprint than we do because they have a more efficient way and people consume less. So before we even talk, because even if we stop burning fossil fuels tomorrow, it's not going to fix the climate crisis. All right? It's not going to fix it. We need to slow it, but to ask people to stop it. And it's harder to stop fossil fuels than you think, all right? So while it would be nice if we didn't have to burn fossil fuels anymore, we have to go about it in a slow manner. It's not going to happen overnight, all right? But we're heading in the wrong direction. When you take a look at what's going on Long Island, and again, let's look at some areas in Europe, and you'll see here. We're looking at Belgium. Let's go look at Germany, another country, a country that's very, very famous for its, cars. Let's go on the 4. I think this is like an Autobahn or whatever. Let's take a look and see what vehicles we got on here. And you'll see mostly cars. Look at that, mostly cars here. Yeah, I see mostly cars. There's a minivan, but it's mostly cars here. All right? So, it's pines. I don't know they had pines in Germany. But anyway, there's mostly cars there. All right, so similar thing. All right, let's go to the United Kingdom here. Similar thing you'll see on the roads. I see mostly cars here. I know they drive on the opposite sides. There's one pickup, but mostly cars I see. All right. Yet when we go to the United States, we have our vehicles are oversized, and this is a big problem that nobody really wants to talk about. Even the so-called environmentalists don't really want to talk about it at all. And you can go anywhere in the country. Forget about Long Island. Let's go to another state. Let's go somewhere in the Midwest here, Nashville. I'm sure you'll see plenty of big pickups on that road too. Let's go to 65 in Nashville. Let's see what we got here. Can't really see because there's a big truck there. Yeah, I see pickups. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 pickups. There's another one, SUV over there. So see, this problem is all over the whole country. It's not just Long Island, though. I think it is significantly worse on Long Island than it is in a lot of other parts of the country. But we've got to do something. And hey, Joe Biden ain't going to do anything about it. He's in bed with fossil fuels. I think both parties are. And we have a governor that isn't doing anything about it. And you can look at Long Island. We'll just go on the expressway, and you'll see all the huge pickups that are around here. And again, look at all this SUV. Every vehicle's an SUV. Long Island's pretty bad. Look at every vehicle's an SUV. I mean, that's a crossover. but you see a lot of SUVs on the road. It's too many. And, SUVs are bigger. They have bigger wheels. A bigger wheel means more energy to turn that wheel, which is going to consume more gas than a fuel-efficient car. So this is what I'm saying. It's very unpopular, and I know people on Long Island hate when this gets brought up. They cry, my freedom, my freedom. You don't have the freedom to destroy the planet. I'm sorry. All right? Looking at some roads here. There's not much traffic on these roads here. But yeah, you can see in the distance there's more pickups again. If you need a pickup and you need it for your work or whatever you do, that's fine. You keep driving it. You'll have to have a commercial license. That'll make sure that the people who need them can still drive them, while everybody else can no longer drive them because, it looks cool to have a big pickup truck. It's not cool. It's killing the planet. And when you look at the acceleration of this climate crisis, you'll see that it has gotten significantly worse when the SUVs and the pickups became very popular, and they started becoming popular in the 2000s, and it's just gotten even worse. And we could just do light trucks, environment, and an environmental impact, and they have a huge environmental impact. Light duty vehicles, including sedan. No, that's light duty vehicles. Let's see. Why SUVs are still a huge environmental problem. Here's an article from the New York Times about it. So this is what I mean. They just want to talk about these SUVs, and this is the problem. And the average new car is more dangerous for the environment than the older ones. Here's an article from the street about this. All right, so people are buying the wrong kind of cars, and here we go. However, as Americans and others and there are buyers chasing the allure, comfort, and safety of big SUVs or trucks, that may not be the case. So, and there's even some increase in popularity in the UK, but the US is really, so we're taking a step backwards here in all this. So I'm going to link these two articles below. We can read them. But I figured I'd share my thoughts on this because they've even tried to make electric pickup trucks. No. This is the problem, is the pickup truck. All right. You should not be allowed to drive a pickup truck unless you really need one. That's the bottom line. That's what it boils down to. And if we can go back and get these and start driving cars again, I think that would help. Even if the cars have just regular gas engines in them, it's going to be a lot better for the planet. All right. But what would really be better for the planet is getting people on public transportation. And we're not going to do that as long as we keep cutting public transportation. And as far as forcing people to ride electric buses like these piece of junk or Proterras that keep getting recalled, it's not going to happen. All right. Buses right now, we just don't have the technology for an electric bus to be efficient. And the same thing goes for an electric car. All right. It's electric cars. Again, you look at all the batteries that have all the mining there aren't enough metals on this planet to have every car become an electric car. It's just not feasible. All right. It's just not feasible. There's other ways. I think that hydrogen fuel cells show a lot of promise, and I think that may be our solution here. Hydrogen fuel cells, which are way better. We could just cook a hydrogen fuel cell. All right, hydrogen fuel cell vehicles here, and you can see they already make a few of them here. And I think this is going to be a way to go. Hydrogen is a very energy dense gas, and it's also very abundant. And burning it only produces, or I'll call it burning it, but it only really produces water. That's it. Nothing harmful. So I think this is really the way to go, but hardly anyone is doing it. That's been my opinion on this climate crisis. Obviously, people are just so full of greed right now, and as long as Wall Street continues to win, they're going to keep talking. Here's another one about Biden's proposed energy fuel standards here. Fuel standards compared to cost of doing nothing, and this is nothing. This Biden is not going to. Biden's been just as bad on the environment as Trump. He hasn't been anything. Trying to force people to drive electric cars is not the solution to this. The solution is downsizing, downsizing our vehicles, getting people on public transportation, and even that's not going to fix this climate crisis. We're going to have to find a way to geoengineer our way to cool the planet. Because even if we didn't burn any more fossil fuels tomorrow, it's not going to fix this. All right? I'm not saying we need to burn less fossil fuels for sure. But we have gone past that point. One only has to look at the atmosphere. One only has to look at how warm it is in this world right now, which is, I'll wrap it up showing you just the complete lack of really cold air in North America. Look at most of Canada. I mean, teens is not that cold for this part of Canada. The really cold air is stuck up here, and that's it. And the whole world is pretty much well above normal. We can just take a look and go to anomaly here, and we show you regions, and we show you the entire northern hemisphere and the temperature anomaly that we have in that northern hemisphere. And you'll notice there's a lot more red on that. Look at all that red, and some bright red too, than blue. And that's an indication of this warming world that we live in and this climate crisis that we're in. We have to take that first step, and that means getting these big pickup trucks and big SUVs off the road for the people who don't need them. And that's the bottom line. We have way too many of them on the road, and we got to start driving cars again and doing away with SUVs and pickups in our lives. So that's what I have to say. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.